for a moment.
1 minute.
1 minute.
Got that 1 minute. After listening to both Joe Coors and some of the others, I think it is critical that we do 3 things to be competitive globally. Education, innovation, and cooperation, working together, both sides of the aisle, to make sure that this country really advances the interests of each and every one of us. Innovation, education, cooperation. Now, Joe said that they don't outsource. All I can say is his own investor relations, communications with their investors, talk about outsourcing jobs to low-cost countries like South Korea and Mexico. And so, if I'm reelected, one of the things that I will sponsor and try to stop is giving tax incentives that outsource jobs. So we want to encourage jobs here. The production tax credit, the wind energy tax credit is key, and hopefully we'll get that passed before the end of the year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Coors. 1 minute for rebuttal.
Yes, and I would just like to say that the current Congress and the current tax codes that are set up, we have the highest tax rate in the free world, and it disincentives people, companies from bringing back the success of their businesses to the United States. With over $1 trillion sitting in banks, if they bring it back to companies bring it back to the United States, it's going to be taxed at some horrible rate of taxes just to bring the money back into the country. So no wonder it is that businesses prefer to make the investments offshore, taking jobs away from the United States and putting them in foreign countries, because that's where their money is. And that's what I would vote to change, because we've got to incent businesses to bring back those money in offshore accounts to stimulate the growth in the United States.
Thank you, Mr. Coors.
Thanks. I would just start by saying Jared and I conducted a symposium with what's called the Concord Coalition, which is Democrats and Republicans looking at every single part of the budget, both on the revenue side, what kinds of revenue, whether it's certain income taxes or different kinds of gas taxes, the like, and also every single expense. And that's what the entire budget process has got to be. And I guess I'm a little more confident than some of the folks up here. I think in this lame duck session, we're going to see some real activity, because you have the Bush tax cuts expiring and the big budget cuts kicking in, which will drive, I think, everyone towards making some deals that will present a good business plan for America for the next 10 years. And the Simpson Bowles actually reduces the deficit by $4 trillion. And I would remind everybody that under Bill Clinton, after the George Bush first added some taxes, we added 23 million jobs to this country. Under the second George Bush, we lost millions of jobs, especially in the last 6 months of his tenure. So thank you very much.
Mr. Coors.
Just a word about Simpson Bowles. First of all, you all understand, well, there may be a gallant 38 people that supported this. The plan wasn't even embraced by their own president. So and it doesn't even come close. I'm a math person. I have a little bit of accounting and CEO experience. This plan doesn't even come close to balancing a budget. What they're talking about is perhaps reducing expenditures. The Congress, the 112th Congress, already came to grips with that and did a very nice job of capping expenditures as best they possibly could. So don't be misled that Simpson Bowles' proposal on the table is anything other than another extension of more federal government. Oh, the worst part is that it embraces Obamacare. Obamacare is going to add $1.7 trillion in expenses to the government. And that's what we got to rein in and control. Thank you.
This leads nicely into our next question. Next to jobs and the economy, maybe the most important issue in this election is health care. And our question is, will the Affordable Care Act fix our health care system issues, particularly related to the health care needs of our seniors? We'll start with you, Senator Lumberg.
Obamacare. Let's forget politics for a minute. If this proposal was presented to any of you with any CEO CEO and accounting experience, this plan is an absolute disaster. It's going to add $1.7 trillion to the cost of government to carry it out. But probably worse, it creates 158 new agencies and programs. Guess who's going to fill those jobs? To me, the worst, and for those of you who are seniors or approaching seniors, don't be deceived. It takes $716 billion out of Medicare to fund Obamacare. It's going to reduce the services and the availability of things for current seniors. We need to restore that $716 billion back to Medicare to keep the promise we have to our seniors to ensure that they have that coverage. The Republicans get accused of changing Medicare as we know it. Well, I can tell you flat out that there's only one candidate in this room between me and my opponent who has voted to change Medicare as we know it, because his policies took $716 billion out of Medicare to fund Obamacare, and at the expense of seniors going forward, and that's just wrong. We need to protect our seniors who have invested in Medicare and Social Security, and there are ways to start over. We need tort reform, we need interstate competition, we need portability, we do need to cover pre-existing conditions. But that's a whole different platform, and I look forward to going back to Washington, D.C. and starting that process.
First, we need to set the record straight. Joe, the $716 or $760 billion, you used a couple numbers last couple of days, that does not cut any benefits from Medicare. That money is savings from something you talked about earlier, which is savings from fraud, waste, abuse, and duplicative types of services. And so that money goes back into Medicare to prolong Medicare. Now, the reason I supported the Affordable Care Act was because, one, we do away with something that's just been terrible, and that's discriminating against people with prior illnesses and health conditions. And my guess is everybody in this room has somebody, a loved one, a close friend, a neighbor who has a prior condition of some kind. There's no longer discrimination in that respect. It allows 26-year-olds to stay on their parents' policies. That's very important. Closes the donut hole for seniors. Now, the other thing it does is it expands women's health choices, which is very different than what my opponent wants to do. He wants to limit women's health choices by being part and signing on to the personhood amendment. Now, I can tell you, I was walking precinct in Lakewood, and this lady comes marching up. She's power walking. She comes up, she says, "Ed, I'm with you, and I'm not with Mitt." She said, "I'm a Republican, and I'm not going to reverse 50 years of women's rights." And so that's